meeting here on the traditional and unceded territory of the Squamish First Nation. We're going to start with an approval of the agenda and an introduction of any late items.
Actually, we need to revise.
Okay.
It's very small, but it's just about who's introducing the subjects.
Okay.
4.1, 2, and 4.3. Actually, mostly 4.2 will be me introducing, 4.3 will be Lee introducing, but the three of us will all be speaking on these pieces of work together. So I don't even know if that requires agenda change, but.
Okay.
Doing 4.2 or
4.2 is me, 4.3 is it.
I can just make a note.
Okay.
Minutes, and then if Steph thinks we need to, she can go.
Okay. Any other changes, or can I get somebody to move to adopt the or approve the agenda? Mimi, thank you. Anybody to second it? Jillian. Okay, next, adoption of minutes. Oh, they were gonna be added as a late item, as it says.
Oh, were they?
That's what it says here. Do we have those?
They were emailed? Oh, maybe.
I didn't get these.
I don't have them either. I can. But I found out I was doing this.
We can't adopt them then.
No, we can't adopt.
No. I can look and see if I can.
I can
find them. It just has to be mine.
But we wouldn't. Table them and then adopt them.
Yeah. So Steph can.
Okay, so
Just do two times.
we'll defer that to next time and
Mhm. I mean, I can refer to them if you need to, look like.
Again, we'll defer it to next time. Okay, 3 public comments, anybody? Have anybody with us? Any public comments from the room?
Thank you.
Well, then let's start from business arising from the minutes. 4.1, rental policy revisions, cancellations and deposit updates.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
So
you.
we put on Scotty yesterday, please.
Which one do you want?
2025 DICT facility usage and rentals.
Right, there are two. One of them has all the track changes, so you can see what we did.
Oh, wait, we're doing that one. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is it the one that was in the email from this morning?
Last night,
It was the 6th of 7 in the email from Jillian.
Mhm. So maybe we should put up on
Oh,
the
yeah,
screen
okay.
the one without the track changes, but the track changes is there for your reference.
Okay.
Okay, so you want the one without the track changes?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got.
Here, I'll open it up.
You're open with track.
You wasn't.
Oh, so what this is final draft, right?
It shouldn't say final.
Which is
Which
draft.
is a draft.
Yeah.
So the actual document says final.
Oh.
It's in the final.
Oh, because that's right, that was a ton of hangover, so. Yeah, you catch so.
Rental policy updates, underscore draft. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, cool.
It's coming. Okay, so there's a number of things that we've changed in here, but none of them are massive changes. Often it's just a clarification or kind of wording something better or it's something that have already talked about in previous JMC meetings. So the first one, if you want to scroll down, Sarah. The first one is just here, local community groups or individuals. This was a change we discussed previously about making it not just local community groups, but it is now individuals, and the description does just reflect that now. So in the track changes document, it'll just be a bunch of things crossed out to make it more broad. Underneath that, we've removed a category of a private renter because that we decided was more of an event type rather than a customer type. And then under commercial renter, we have just alter that a little bit to being businesses or individuals. Prior, I think it just said it was just less informative. So And then we've also added under commercial renter. There's just not a title there. Off-island nonprofit is a title. We'll just have to edit that a little bit. But that was just not originally in the rental policy as a group type, even though they existed as a group type. So we just added that in. Is this the way I should be doing this?
So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. Then category B, we've just added individuals to that as well. And then in category C, we added off-island nonprofit renters. Those two just previously didn't really exist in any categories, even though they existed as customers. So those have just been added to these categories. And then scrolling down, we can go to page 3. I think, yeah. Oh no, sorry.
yes, because we're looking at one with the
Yes.
track changes. Yeah.
All right, okay. There's just a couple little wording things here that we've changed that you'd see in track changes. The biggest thing would be that we added the community kitchen to this second group that says flex room, community meeting room, conference room, etc. And we've removed the courtyard and the living room from that segment because the courtyard is non-reservable. So we didn't want it in a category that says you can book it. So we've added community kitchen there, and then we've added below the living room as a separate category. So this is a new thing rather than just a rewording and moving things around. We have talked a lot about the living room being reservable or not. And this is something that we're proposing is that the living room may be rented for exclusive use if it's being added on to a theater rental only. So you can't rent the flex room and reserve the entire living room. And it would be a flat fee, and it can only be used for the duration of a presentation or a performance's reception and intermission times. So we just found that the living room is being used as a reception for theater events. And it is essentially taking over the space and using it exclusively. But there is not really any fee associated with it. And we figured like if people are blocking living room off, using it only for their event, then it should be, we would like to know, first of all, so that facility can be, and staff can be prepared, and that we'd also like for there to be a small flat fee attached to it, just because it is a space that they're booking. So under like just one of the guidelines that we would use, we'd say that you need to move some of the tables out into the hallway so that the community members who are here a lot doing work and homework and things are still able to use the space, like use the community center public space in some way, just not that living room space.
Yeah, I would probably want to make the same point of clarification is that what this is not saying is that it's a requirement to reserve the
No.
living room. We're not saying that. So any of the productions to date,
Inclusive use.
it's, yes. So how theater productions are using the living room right now remains. It's only about if you want to make it inaccessible. to everybody else.
So if you wanted to rope off the living room and have that as your ticket taking entrance, or if you wanted to move everything around and decorate it and cordon it off for like bar service or whatever it might be, that would be where you might reserve it for your exclusive use.
So somebody could still do like how it's been happening. where
Yes.
There's been some people sitting at the
Yeah.
tables working on their homework and we're
Yeah.
working around them. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. You can still use it as your like main reception area. You can still have everyone waiting to go into the theater. You can still have your concession. This would just be that you're like, we really want to block it off and
Mhm.
decorate it and make it different and
Do you have an idea of what the flat fee is?
We're saying 40?
We were considering $40 as a flat fee for the entire rental. So it's not
Per
like,
day or for the use of it exclusively for the run of, say, a show?
Per event, I would say, so like
yeah,
per day.
per day,
Okay.
yeah.
And the reason we went with a flat fee approach as opposed to an hourly option with everything else is we would anticipate there'd just be too much nickel and diming about the matter. And well, I only really want it for this 1 hour and it's just too difficult to manage and oversee.
Have you had anybody actually want it exclusive use only so far?
We've just been telling everybody, no, it cannot be used exclusively, and then we have events that end up like taking over the whole living room and moving all the tables and chairs around. And like we even had an event that Breck hosted where we kind of wanted to have it cordoned off for like the reception of the event or whatever. So we figured like if we can at least have the option.
Rather than just saying flat out no, having an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It also allows us to anticipate and like set up
Prepare.
spaces for other. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
What if hypothetically someone says, no, we don't need that? And then they do exactly what you just said. Is there a way, do you review their contract later and say, actually, you did cordon off and you did, make people move their tables into the outside area? We need to charge you. Is there a way to do that?
There's definitely a way to do it. We just have to have a conversation after and get a payment from them afterwards. Yeah, and I think if anybody I think most plays and concerts will probably not choose to pay extra for exclusive use. And we'll just make it really clearly, we have been so far, that you can't, tell anyone to move, or you can't kick people out, and you have to make it still accessible for the community and make sure that everyone's just still kind of like abiding by those guidelines. And yeah, it would be the same thing if a renter went 2 hours over on their rental, and we'd have to say, you were here later, we do need to charge you the extra hours.
And it probably would be a situation where we'd be seeing it happening. We'd be seeing them doing it and we would stop everything and have that conversation right then and there. Yeah, cool. One other thing I wanted to note about that is that, Kim, as you'll recall, example, we discussed this early on, and we had initially proposed an add-on option for the living room, and then we were all kind of, let's just wait and see a little bit, and maybe we shouldn't do it. So it's a little bit coming back full circle to what we thought might be needed in the first place.
Okay.
And Jamie too, you were part of all those discussions, yeah.
Okay. Okay, if we could scroll down, Sarah, to cancellation policy. And nothing is being changed here. It's more just being reworded and clarified, just so that it's a little bit more clear to anybody reading the policy. Yeah, that's really the only major change here. It's just, clarifying the different refund windows and fees. One thing that I did add was the note under 14 days or fewer that says, regardless of the cancellation date, all damage deposits and prepaid overtime fees will be refunded in full. This was something that wasn't previously in the policy, but if you're not using your rental, you're obviously going to get your damage deposit refunded anyways. And overtime fees are pretty much just staffing fees, and those staff will be called off. So there won't be any financial loss in refunding those. So that was just the one thing that was added to this section. And then we scroll down to change policy. This is probably the biggest item that we've added to the policy, and it's something that we discussed for a very long time. And what we've landed on was, I'll just read it out essentially. Changes to the rental start and end times are permitted with no additional charge, obviously subject to availability. Adding a room to your rental, adding an additional space, there won't be a change fee to that. You would just obviously pay the rental fee difference. We did decide that changes to a rental date or a room, so you're changing the date of your event or whatever, more than 6 months in advance are permitted with no additional charge. So we landed on 6 months, as we figured within 2, 3, 4 months, that's where I'm seeing most of the bookings come in for events that aren't really, really far in advance. And we figured outside of 6 months, it's very likely that that date will get rebooked. Less than that, when it gets closer to 3, 4, 5, 3 months, that is when it gets probably a bit more challenging to rebook the space if a date is changed. And then that last line just says that changes to a rental date or room with 6 months or fewer notice will be treated as a cancellation and a rebooking, and will be subject to the cancellation policy above. And we ran through all the options. We can't find any loopholes with this policy. So this was something that we brought up last JMC or the one before that, about how there was this, can't cancel within 30 days, but you don't pay till 14 days kind of thing. This actually eliminates that loophole and creates a change policy, which is kind of 2 birds in 1 stone, which is great. I did want to note that I know that sometimes things change with big 2-week-long theater runs, for example, that Toady or King Baby or Bard or whoever will do. If they want to change one day slightly, move from a Tuesday to a Wednesday to set up or things like that, we're not going to treat that as a cancellation because it's a big long booking. If they wanted to change the entire run by an entire week, then we would probably treat it as a charge or as a change in cancellation.
And that's that 15% administrative fee.
Yeah, so it would apply the exact same as a cancellation. So if it's within 30 days to 6 months prior to your event, then it'll be a 15% cancellation and then we'll rebook. If it's within that 14 to 30 days prior to the event, then you would lose your deposit and have to pay that again to rebook the date. And then, yeah, within 14 days, that's just a
Yeah.
flat out cancellation. You lose all the money, unfortunately.
Again, subject to health or community major issue,
Yeah.
those sorts. of
Which is in the
things.
cancellation
Yeah.
policy as
Yeah.
well. The cancellation notes that in the event of emergency, health and safety reasons, reasonable requests may be considered. The event of an emergency-based BICC reserves the right to cancel. Yeah, so everything that applies in the cancellation policy would apply to this. Moving on. If you could scroll down to liquor licensing, catering and food services. I think this is the last thing. This, just a few little things were added. So previously this said liquor licensing and catering, we just added food service, just as a wording thing. And then at the bottom, we added the two last bullet points about how food and drink are permitted in theater seating, provided they are non-messy and unlikely to spill, stain, or leave residue. This is something that we are continually not battling, but just trying to figure out a way to manage as people want to eat popcorn and drink their drinks in the theater. And that's just the reality of it. And so as long as we just figured we put in the policy that, try to not have super messy stuff.
Well, just a bit more on that, that's okay.
Yeah.
What's emerging as a community request, is the facility for birthday parties.
Yeah.
Right? It's really on the rise, on the uptake. So, a lot of those are taking place in the flex room. They love that space, but the theater now is also being looked at as a birthday party venue. So,
I think word is getting out that you can. do
right?
that.
So come on in, have a bit of food, watch a movie, your birthday party is done. So imagine having your birthday cake on a napkin and going up to sit in the theater seats, right? What that's gonna look like down there everywhere. So this is some of the origin of this, and outside of saying yes to popcorn, no to M&M, I don't think we want to get that
Mhm.
that prescriptive about it, but maybe we try and find alternatives. So for example, if you're gonna have your cake in the theater, have tables on the floor, and you eat your cake there, and then you go up in the seating to watch the movie. So trying to figure out a way that's a combination of some content built into policy, others are communications with the renters, and like we've spoken about before, building this culture of care for our shared space will help with this hopefully, but people are also pretty quick to leave their junk, right?
And this is not to say that we're gonna be policing what foods are sticky, what foods are messy or whatever. It's more just so that it's in there, that we can use it as a reference. And I'm building I feel like every rental I do, I'm building a more comprehensive list of saying, please try to be careful with the food. And if you want a table, we'll set them up for you and you can have food down there. And yeah, just.
Yeah, I was just at the Polka Theatre in Wimbledon in London, and they're a child-centered venue. So they do that, and they do rentals, they do birthday parties and all that stuff. They do a kind of a cleaning fee. So what it is you basically within their contract, they go, you're gonna do this, but if you leave a mess, there's a fee for the cleaning of it, and you have to use our service. Do you know what I mean? It's worded a little differently rather than, it's a penalty, you left a mess. They're going, well, this is the mess. We're going to clean it up, and this is the fee that it is for this type of mess. Because they do a lot of birthday parties and stuff like
Right,
that.
yeah.
So it's a culture of care, because the people are aware that if, there is a spill and there's cake spread on the seats and stuff, that yes, well, we're gonna clean that up, but you're not gonna try to do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? There's a service that they provide.
And that's mandatory?
It's mandatory. So they kind of have done, it's culture care you doing it, but if there is a mess there, we'll clean it up. And
Yeah.
this is the fee it is to bring our service in to do it. They're used to it a lot, right? Because they have high traffic volume of kids going through. They have a room set up for it, but it's the same thing that they like to use the theater venue for some of the things. They go, yeah, okay.
If we were to
Uh,
implement
yeah.
something like that, would it be like if you are serving food or drink in the theater, you get charged the fee?
No.
Would it be that or
No, it's what they do is they say, it happens, do what you're doing. If there's a mess,
It
We're
is
gonna-
after the fact.
it's after the fact, because we're gonna clean it up, right? But they're aware of it in the contract. You just go, because some people, what they like to do is they like to say, oh, we'll do it, we'll clean it up. That's where it gets not so easy, because they don't necessarily clean it up, or,
Right.
do you know what I
So
mean?
we do have in like, in the policy, it's like, leave it as you found it,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
if it's cleaned in this, it's set up and cleaned this way, when you get there, it should be that
Yeah,
simple and clean, and if it's not, you get charged for the.
Yeah, what they
the
do is they
time.
have, and the way they
Yeah.
just word it is that, you know, we can get it cleaned up.
Mhm.
But, you know, we're not gonna get after you to clean it up, because not that we don't trust you, but we have our own staff that does it properly
Right.
to make sure that it's clean. So it is essentially a charge, like a penalty for leaving it a mess. They just structure it a little differently. Anyway, not saying that you have to right now, but it might be something to consider. Because the other messy part, pardon the pun, is that people see the mess, they try to clean it up, or they want to clean it up, but they don't do it, right? So then it gets
They
like,
don't have the vacuum.
they don't have the
tools
equipment, they don't have the
Mhm.
expertise. And sometimes they just are.
They
like-
rub not blood.
Yeah, but yeah, so it just ends up not being and it creates tension and conflict, right?
Is there something in the policy about cleaning fees overall anyway, though? Is there something? That if they don't leave it, there was. Something's left in poor condition, will be.
So this is under rates, fees and deposits. It does say that extra fees incurred by the renter may include but are not limited to additional maintenance required to handle insufficient cleaning
Yeah.
and debris left in the room, repair or replacement of the room or equipment. So this is kind of where the policy is talking about damage deposits, and it kind of implies that the cost of damage is including potential cleaning or whatever.
This is a little bit different
We
because it's
deduct, yeah.
not so much a damage thing, because some people who are not worried about the money will just pay the cleaning fee. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They'll just go, we're gonna do our thing and we'll pay the X for you guys to clean it. And that's, you know, it's upfront, right?
Right.
And so then it takes a lot of the tension out of it. But it's kind of like you have to figure out what the rate is
Yeah.
and not get it into negotiation and the nickel and dime thing that you call it, right? So it's like, if our people are doing it, this is what the fee is.
Mhm.
And if they're not doing it, then it's gonna be as we found it. And if it isn't, well,
Then there's the
then
fee.
then there's the fee. It's pretty
Mhm.
easy to implement. Particularly around things like birthday parties or those kind of events or weddings or something like that. Because it is, I can even say at Tunstall Bay, it is a kind of a bone of contention whenever we rent out our space. The issues around the cleaning, like, because they want to clean it.
Right.
But then they go, where's the vacuum cleaner? Where's all the stuff? And not have access and have to be supervised and.
Well,
Mhm.
for today, what specifically are you looking from us for this? Are you looking for us to approve?
Yeah.
Looking for recommendation to
Yeah.
approve these
Yeah,
changes.
I would do it now and have that something to think about in the future, right? It's just something if it
Mhm.
turns.
Well, and if we were to add like a cleaning fee or figure out exactly how much we would charge for cleaning, that's not something that needs to be in this document, since it
Right.
already does say that
Yeah.
you might be charged. Yeah, it would more be like an add-on. fee.
Well, in the interest of time where we're at in terms
Yeah.
of the schedule. I mean, personally, for me, I think these changes make absolute sense and I'd be happy to approve them. Is there any other comments or concerns, right? Yeah. Any other comments or concerns?
All good.
Very well done.
Yeah, let's get somebody to move that we, what do we just say we're
I'm
gonna
just
say?
I'm gonna show it to you what I've got down, so you can reword it if you want. It's like, it's the most basic thing in the world.
Yeah, okay. So that we move that the JMC approves changes made to the BICC rental policy. You'll move that. Thank you, Kim. Have somebody second? Mimi? And all approve or in favor? so much. Okay, let's move on to 4.2, which I think was,
Me.
oh, okay, sorry, those are changed.
Going up some.
Don't have
minutes
that.
myself. So if you could
Thanks.
pull up the one, Sarah, please, called.
Yeah.
BICC rental fee waiver request process. So there were 3 documents associated with the request for reduced or waived fees, so this is something that we did bring to JMC previously, just about developing a mechanism by which community can ask for a discount or a waiver of fees. So the first, we'll just go through a few sort of the parameters that we're looking at to define what the process or what the program looks like. First, that it applies to all of the rentable spaces in the facility, but not applicable to waive the fees for technicians or custodial overtime. The applicants must live on Bowen or have a direct relevant connection to Bowen. There is a municipal community grant program and process that would be a great, the sort of logical holding place of these funds and to be managed and tracked through this community grant program. So we're proposing initially an annual total budget allocation of $2,500. That's in alignment with our financial assistance policy and budget allocation that we have within recreation. Looking at applications being that they can submit anytime throughout the calendar year, but once those funds have been allocated or committed to one applicant, they're done, that's it. So we wouldn't be able to accommodate any other applications once that funding is gone. But in order to spread it out and try and make it so that one applicant can't just apply for everything in January, they can only apply once per quarter. So January through March, April through June, etc. What else are we saying? That the event must be open to the public. And that if there are fees associated with the event, they must be in support of a not-for-profit fundraising cause, for example, or providing a broad community service.
Could you define broad community service?
Well, perhaps we can all together. So I was thinking, I guess where I was thinking that there's some, maybe like a talk that's a health awareness type of talk, but they want to charge some fees in order to cover the cost of the speaker.
So it wouldn't, oh, okay.
So perhaps we look at, okay, you're providing great community knowledge at a really low, you want to keep the cost really low so that it's very accessible to the community, but there are
But somebody's getting paid.
direct costs associated with putting that on.
So is there a worry that this could be used as like a business promotion type thing as well too? I mean, I know you've got the matrix later on that talks about that.
Well, the business could, if they could prove that they're providing broad community service. Like, because you said it's like in support of a not-for-profit, but I think healthcare is a really good example of emergency services. So we allow a group to come in and do a course on emergency services for the teens can do, and we waive our rental fee for them. But they have some costs associated with it, but they're very small.
Right.
And so, but they're not a not-for-profit organization, right? They're a health service organization, which is, a little bit different. So I think that just might what you're talking about, like, because it's actually an organization that's running it, or there's a volunteer, but they're with that organization.
Right.
Right, and it's not a not-for-profit company, they basically.
Right, but they're not trying to make a whole lot of money off.
No, they're not
it.
making any money, they're offering it as a community service,
Yeah.
right? Like for teens, the teens get it for free, but someone has to pay for some of the
Yeah,
other
somebody's
stuff.
getting paid somewhere.
Yeah. We just wouldn't get
Yeah.
into the not-for-profit category
Mhm.
easily.
Well, and we can adjust the matrix or adjust.
No, but I think that's.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hijack that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So then just I think we'll look at the matrix in a moment, but in terms of steps, and this would all be outlined really clearly on the website. So the applicant would complete and submit the form which would go to rentals, and we're looking at it being, not something that you have to download and fill in, but immediately fillable online, so that information just goes instantly to the rentals email. And then having a minimum of 3 people using the rubric and scoring each request. Then we average those totals, how they scored out through the matrix, and either we say that score is absolute and we base our decision on that score, or we have the option to also leave some flexibility in there if we wanted to discuss it if we needed to in terms of making a decision. It's probably a much cleaner process to say we're, basing it on the score. It's cleaner and tighter. I had included in here recommendation made to finance department for approval, because finance department would have the tracking of what funds are available.
At 2,500 per year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as they're tracking it, we wouldn't want to be approving something and then find out after that, we'd already locked the budget, so. And then that communication would go back through the rentals email, so that we're not having multiple staff communicating with these people, with applicants, and it just stays in that one line of communication, for simplicity.
One question, and I don't know if it'll necessarily come up, let's say I'm a user that's applying for something through the community grant program, right? And what I'm proposing is something that's going to happen in the theater, and in the budget, I've got the theater rental, right? So I get that community grant and I pay municipality because you've given me the money to do it. Now with this one, it's like there'll be another group that's going to apply for not paying. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that is how the community grants get used, but it's.
Sorry, I'm confused. So a person applies for a community grant
Yeah.
separate to this.
Yeah.
Receives funds and
Rents
part
the
of
theater.
they use it to rent the
They
theater.
rent the
As
theater,
opposed
right?
to this is somebody applying
Right.
to rent the theater for discounted for free.
For
So it's sort of
right,
two-
and only just because I don't know if that actually comes up in the community grants program, but that could be a little bit of a confusion. Because, do you know what I mean? Just a little, only because it's being administered by the same program, right? And also, I don't think you want to get into that in-out thing, right? Which is, an in-out is basically saying that we're subsidizing, we're giving you the money by not charging you rent, which is what municipalities do to arts organizations when they have venues.
Right.
They say, this is a community grant, Vancouver Playhouse of $455,000, but basically it's just we're forgiving you the rent. But we want you to count that, so we're counting that as a grant. They say, well, you're just not charging us to use the space. They go, well, yes, that's a grant. Right? So, which is okay, but it can be confusing if you are renting the space out and you are giving grants to other people and then they rent the space.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that would comes up in the community grants program. I don't know it well enough to know if that's the kind of thing that it supports.
Well, this is all new, right? So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no.
But in the past, have community grants gone for things like events that people would, that part of their budget, say you give them $1,000 and they would go rent Collins Hall and put something on. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking if that comes up a bit, then I just want to flag the confusion that could come. Thinking, well, one could be that people think that they have to, in order to use that space, the community grants program, they have to use this fund to do it.
Right.
And are they able to then still pay for the theater, but then not apply, or can they do both? Can they put in a community grant and apply for this discount?
Either way, it's going through the community grants program, so
Right.
there's a financial record of that transaction,
yeah, yeah.
which is what I'm really keen on seeing. I don't want space being given away and there be
Yeah.
no financial record of it. So
Maybe,
providing it goes through the community grants and it's part of the approved community grants budget.
that's right.
I-
So maybe it's just in the wording that's like an in-house internal thing.
Yeah, this is entirely
Yeah,
internal.
so just in terms of when it gets, when it's out there, it's seen as two completely separate programs by the public.
Yeah.
Right? That it's not seen as a part of the community grant program.
I think one of the big differences with it as well is that what we're talking about here is just an application for a single day,
Yeah.
you know, a little piece. And I think probably a lot more of the community grants program, it's a much more fulsome
Mhm.
request.
But somebody could like, you know, and I think it's more of an internal, it's just, if it's internal, it's fine. Just externally, they should be seen as two separate things.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe we wouldn't have the information on the community grants page actually associated with this. We would only have it on the community center page.
Yeah,
Like that's, yeah.
yeah, just from the outside, then people are not gonna get confused by it.
Delete that on here right now. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And the last section on this document was just about the intention being that it's fully transparent to the community. So on the community center website would be both the information about the process, the application form, and the scoring rubric. So they know exactly how they're going to be evaluated in their application. So, we want to talk about that anymore or look at the rubrics? The rubrics kind of tough to go through, like you got to spend some time in that. It's so. What we might do, if we don't want to do it all here together, what we could ask actually is for people to run, no, we have to create the application. So I was gonna ask everybody to sort of try out the rubric with
Right.
different applications, but we need to have the application to start with to do that, so. So the other two, I'll just speak to the other two documents and then we can decide how we want to look at them, so.
Do you want me to share one?
Sure.
Which one?
Why don't we put up the rubric? Yeah. So we've worked pretty hard to try and have the rubric, the application, and these parameters all fit together. So, and give people the questions appropriate so that we can grade it properly without giving them all of the information necessarily. So, so the application form.
Sorry, I just wasn't showing on mine.
So that's the rubric, yeah, and
You
it's,
want to go to the application?
well, we can, actually, one thing I would like us to look at here altogether. So what I will suggest though is I think it would be pretty hard to wordsmith components of this rubric here together. I'm not sure that's the right use of our time. We will, please let us know if it's not making sense to you. But what I think would be really good for us to discuss and get consensus on is the weight that we give to the different categories.
Right.
So what we were looking at here is like, there's all these different criteria by which we measure an application, but they don't all hold the same value, right? So that's why we put sort of a double the value on some and single value on others. So I feel like if we have consensus around the sort of the relative importance of the different criteria, and I think we're in a good place to proceed and we can leave it open for people to, share if you think something doesn't make sense. I will admit that we do need to make sure that the total score numbers make sense at the
Right,
end.
yeah.
So that's a piece that still needs to be worked on a little
Right.
bit.
I think you've done a really good job. I mean, when you say just the mission alignment, you mean the mission of the community center or the municipality? Which
More the,
mission
I think it should be facility. It's not about
Facility,
the
yes.
owners. It's about the facility.
Yeah, so that document, that value statement document at the beginning that was brought up, right? Yeah, I think those first three are the big ones for sure, right? People who need it. It's kind of the right thing to be happening in the space that's promoting the values of why the community center is here. And then that in case that isn't catching public benefit, what the broader benefit is to the event. If I was looking at, say, two things that were being proposed, right? That those three would be the ones that would separate the cream would rise to the top, let's put it that way, very quickly with those three assessments. And then the question is between equal candidates, do we want to weigh one of those more than another? If we have, let's say, have three equal things, is it more important that there is financial need what it's really all about? Is it about, or is it more about promoting the values of the place? Or is it more about having a broader appeal? Like, does it need to be broad enough? Because like, let's just say you've got one that's like the financial need is high, you've got another one that the, value alignment is really strong, and another one has a broad appeal. You've got three of them, you only can give out one. Would you weight one of these?
Oh.
And that's just in the
Yeah.
numbers you give it.
Right. Sorry, is it about weighing sort of an application against another?
Yeah, let's see, you've got three applications and they've gone through it, they've all scored pretty much the same because those three are, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the top three, because everything, I think you've got the right top three.
It's first come, first serve as well.
Right, so I don't think we'd hold on to the applications to evaluate them
Right.
en masse, as they come in, we'll
No,
evaluate.
but I'm saying only get three people apply and.
Right.
Good.
Well, I think we'd have to make some financial decisions then. If the credit requests that were being made were over the capacity of the budget, then we'd have to dig into it a little bit, but my guess is if we're only saying you can apply for a single event.
Right.
And we've got a sum of money that'll cover us for many such requests, then hopefully we've allocated enough. I mean, there's pending council's perspective and approval on this. They may think that it's not the right dollar amount. And, if we get a huge volume of requests after implementing this, maybe there's some adjustments that need to happen to the budget. But I mean, to be honest, we haven't had a whole lot of requests.
No,
We
but
just had no mechanism.
but I also think that once people see this, there's a couple ways it can be looked at. One of the ways, let's we talk about financial equities being a more important one, then it becomes a mechanism for people to get a break if they're an organization where the barrier has been the money, and then they see that there's a mechanism that barrier can be reduced, then they'll make the case for it. So the tool becomes about giving it to people who can make the case because that's been the barrier, right? Another way of looking at this is about promoting the community center, bringing things in that are going to be really in alignment with it, that should be happening, right? And we're encouraging them so they can do more because we're not charging them, right? And so it's an alignment with the organization and its values. So that's what the program becomes about a bit more. Like all are valuable. And then the third one is like for those special events where someone goes like, I've got this special thing that's really going to be important to the community. For example, we're going to have a speaker, we're holding an open forum. It's going to be a BC Ferries wants to come and do a forum on the ferries, right? And we've decided to use this mechanism so that there's no charge for this event to happen. See, those are the three kinds of things that could come to the table. They're all valid. It's just that you will find that people will start to use that. I'm just only bringing that up because the other thing to do is to leave it as it is, equal value on all three. Run it for a while, right? And then find out, right? But they're three different kinds of things.
It's true. Well, and we're not saying one is more important than the other.
No, exactly, not in
Stage.
this one, exactly.
Yeah.
Not just, go ahead.
So looking at our schedule here, sorry to
Jamie's
interrupt
got
here.
something.
Oh, sorry, Jamie?
I have just two questions. One, is it written anywhere that there's a timeline, how long this takes from start to finish?
Like what's the turnaround time on it?
Yeah, turn around.
There isn't at this point. I was thinking that we probably should.
Maybe make a note somewhere.
I wonder if we should also have a note about like how far in advance you need to
Yeah.
apply for the event date that you're applying for.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it just, oh, sorry,
But
she
she
just
has
had her
her
hand up for a minute.
And then my second question is, can you give a partial waive fee, a partial waive, a partial
Yeah.
fee?
A discount? Yeah.
Yeah, so not the full amount. So if you have three really really important requests that you might be able to say, okay, we'll give you half of what you've asked.
Yeah, and that would be built into what their score is. So if they score, hypothetically 80 to 100 points, we would consider them for a full waiver, but maybe 60 to 80 points, it's a partial.
Okay.
So for today, from
I just wanna remind that we do have that fee structure that has discounted rates for nonprofits and local groups. So we're already trying to offer this service as cost effectively as we can to groups. So this really should be for an exceptional group that we want to make some kind of, we want to make this happen. We want to help you to make this happen. But like, this isn't something that, oh, I'm a nonprofit, I'm going to apply for a fee waiver.
Yeah.
Like, no.
That's why I said you may want to weight it a little bit differently to help get the signal out. May I make just a suggestion on how to maybe to do this? Because when I was at the Canada Council, we do this, you've got an open-ended time. People can apply at any time, but you make it clear that these are the times that the decisions are going to be made. You've got it like say quarterly, so there's 4 times a year that the decisions are going to be made, right? So you have to get it in. And that's the time when staff is going to then take the ones that have been submitted up till then, review them, then release that. So people can choose how to play with that. And then you say it's going to take X number of weeks, let's say 4 weeks, for the decision to happen from when that you're going to find out. I'm just picking it up. So if I apply to a March 1st deadline, or like that's when they're going to review them, you're going to know by April. So that helps you decide when to apply and when you booked. Do you know what I mean?
It's just like grant intake dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, you say you can submit anytime, but these are the deadlines that we're making decisions on.
Okay, we can do that and take dates for each quarter.
Yeah. And then people can decide how far in advance they want to apply. Like,
I wonder if we would then want to allocate quarterly an amount.
you're better off not to be honest, because there is robbing Peter to pay Paul, because occasionally you get the really big one that's very important. And it's nice the way you just say, when the money's gone, the money's gone. So what happens is sometimes the really important one comes in September and you didn't have any really important ones, right? And sometimes the important one comes in February.
Or sometimes the really important ones, maybe they're applying 12 months in advance.
Yeah, exactly. So you
right.
just need that, and that's all internal. People don't need to know that. They just need to know when they're gonna apply and when they're gonna hear. And also it's important, Kristen's got a very good point. It sends out a signal about what the program is for just by how it's weighted because of what's been successful. Right? Because you end up giving feedback. I submitted one, we didn't get the money. Why? Well, it was a low priority. What did get the money? Well, that's what got it. That's because that's the kind of thing we want to see. That's what this is for, right? So anyway, I'm not saying you need to change anything, but you can sometimes, this is all internal. So you can run it as a pilot and make changes on it without anybody knowing. Like, you don't have to publish those changes, like in terms of what you're weighting things on and how you're doing that. It's just, you can learn from what's out there.
Are you proposing that you're saying that this matrix then wouldn't be
It's a good
seen by
place to
them?
start. Yeah, no, I wouldn't show them the weighting of the matrix.
Or the
You can
weighting.
reduce it and just say, these are the points, but you don't, they do that, but I literally done a bit of run enough juries that weighting internally gets debated and changed. And so you don't want to be held accountable to that. They just give them a broad view of like saying, this is what the jury's going to consider. This is what they're looking for.
Because we could potentially not put the rubric out there because the questions, the questions in the application, we can look
They
at too.
imply what it's associated
They
with.
cover all the points.
Yes.
All the different.
Yeah, and I think you
criteria.
can try it as a pilot project and see what comes up. I mean, the interesting thing is whether or not it's recurring or not, in the sense that there can be a group that will do the thing every year and they're going to always score really high because they fit the rubric really well and they become recurring. And then that has to get adjusted because you've got other people who can figure out that rubric and then they start filling into that. That all is quite organic in how it evolves. I just don't want to get like, put it all out there and then have to go, oh, and by the way, we're.
Well, it's true, actually,
Changing.
especially while we're still launching and trying and
Yeah.
piloting something. I think that makes sense. Don't actually put this up there. Just put the application. form.
Yeah, then see how it goes and then you can, then if people ask questions, you can share it if someone after the fact goes, why didn't I get the money? You can say, well, this is the rubric that we use.
So we're about 20 minutes behind, sorry to be that guy, but again, for today, what are you looking from us for with respects to this?
Do we need to have like a recommendation to do this, Kristen?
No, I think that we need an internal policy that we, like an administrative directive of how we administer that. So we can look after that as staff level.
Okay, so I guess, do we have an approval in principle about the
yeah.
concept, something like that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the committee supports the proposal as it's been presented, right? The information that you've given us. It's whole, we don't need to go back and look at it again, you're right.
I mean, I think there could be tons of more time spent on it, but we just don't have that today and respectful staff time.
Yeah.
I wanna carry it.
And but feel free, like, but through email, if there are things that give you, cause you concern through this, like, so that's, it was.
It was a lot of documents to look at.
Yeah.
It was.
In one day's notice.
Discount rate.
The rental fee waiver request.
What is your policy?
Yeah, no, it's not a policy.
Process.
Can you move?
I did.
Yep.
Some of the documents that proposal is submitted. Draft stage.
Anybody second? Me again, here we go. And it's approved. Thanks, Jamie. Okay, sorry to make us move on here, but let's get going. Kitchen
Right.
use policy.
Kitchen use policy, so I don't know if we want to put it up, but generally the kitchen use is sort of broken down into the levels of use, the activities you're allowed to do it, and then how you book the space and use the space, I guess, essentially. So the first thing to note is that it isn't a commercial kitchen. So it's a non-commercial kitchen, which means you're not allowed, my understanding from Vancouver Coastal Health is that we cannot prepare food for sale. Okay, that's to the public. So thinking about that, we have two levels of use that sort of fall outside of those things. So there's the level A, which is the concession / light use. This would be included in theater rentals and maybe possibly like flex room rentals. If you wanted to essentially just serve light snacks, drinks, cold foods, beverages, and you would have access to the sinks, the refrigerator, and the countertops, right? So no heating, no cooking, no prepping food, no frying, no, boiling soup or things like that. And the second is the full use of the kitchen, which would be mandatory, like you would have to pay for this as a fee, and it's if you're doing any kind of meal preparation, cooking, or heating of large scale food or service to more people. So that's all the appliances: stove, oven, microwave, dishwasher, and everything else, right? Fridge, sinks, and countertops. We don't currently have a lot of supplies, so people would have to home. Those are the two different levels of use. So permissible activities. So since it's not a certified commercial kitchen, you can't manufacture food products for sale. So food may be prepared at public events, ticketed, open to public, may be prepared on site for sale. You may serve pre-packaged items and food prepared in a commercial kitchen. So reheating, essentially. You could cook full meals and things like that for private events, so your own stay, essentially, or like things that you're not selling to the public, you're cooking to yourself, essentially what you would cook at home and bring to your party. That is still allowed because that's not public and it's not for sale. And then, obviously we have to follow all food hygiene and things like that.
So in this case, say for instance, you have a rental of the theater space, for example. And would somebody be able to bring cookies in that they made at home to sell those?
No.
Oh, well.
Because not, that home is not a commercial.
Not a
kitchen.
commercial.
Okay.
So, but you
Regardless
could
if
buy.
We had a commercial kitchen or not, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, it's technically not allowed. You'd have to buy like English made cookies, prepackaged
Yeah.
cookies. God, those are.
And is that like a liability component or something like that for the theater
It's,
or for the community center?
It's a health and safety.
Okay.
Yeah, it's required by Vancouver Coastal Health.
Yeah.
It's just like
Sorry, I'm just
farmers
curious.
markets and things like that, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
So the general access rules, so booking, you must obviously reserve. And often if, depending on the use of the space, you'll have to get oriented. Like the dishwasher is a commercial dishwasher, so it's not one you just load up like at home and turn it on. The stove and the microwave obviously are. The access times are restricted to just during your rental. So you can't drop off beer that's warm and say, I need this to cool for my event because the fridge may be full or not available. You're not entitled to it, I guess is really what it comes down
We
to.
have a decent number of bookings happening,
Yeah.
like Flex Room is there morning, afternoon for a birthday party, and then there's a theater event on a Saturday evening. It's becoming like more and more common and busy, so just trying to limit.
And then under like sort of along those lines too, is that you can't leave your food there afterwards and come back and get it and those sort of things. So obviously it's just your hours are the hours of your booking, trying to keep the kitchen. It's not a very big kitchen, so we didn't want a lot of people in there. And then obviously nobody under 19, just as essentially we just need to have someone who's an adult. And then the similar cleaning and damage policy. So just leave it as you found it. Surfaces wiped down, dishes put away, washed. Dishes generally be brought with them, but if you are going to use a dishwasher, you have to put it away. Cleaning up floors, garbage, things like that, and recycling and compost sorted and made available, either taken with you or cleaned up. And then, not putting grease down the sink, making sure that the filters on the sink are there, that sort of stuff. I think we are also proposing a flat fee as an add-on, similar to the living room. If you were to book the living room, same flat fee, and it's for the extent of your rental. If you did want to come and use just the kitchen, there's an hourly there. Can't see a lot of use that way, but possibly. And then obviously damage and cleaning the closets, cleaning and breakage fees, those sort of things. Yeah, pretty straightforward. The biggest thing just being that it's, making people aware of the limitations of the kitchen and that it's not just a walk in and make yourself a grilled cheese.
I also just want to note last meeting, I think it was an action item to call other community centers and see how they do their kitchen. I did call like 4 or 5 different community centers around BC that were like similar size to ours, like similar size kitchens, similar size population. And this is pretty common the way that they do it in the light minimal use versus like mega use of the kitchen. So yeah, that's kind of where we base this off of, is how other places have said it works for them. And also where our fees came from were similar to those as well. We had some like really interesting feedback from some community centers saying that they had a lower fee around the rate that we have, and then they've increased it and they've just seen like no use of the kitchen. So yeah, all these things were kind of based off of a lot of research that we did for the other kitchens as well.
It's interesting, like just having a kitchen adds things on top of like rental and that sort of management, but just the fact that it's there, we have to go and check it every few hours and make sure that everything is clean and things put away. It's near outside, so you gotta make sure that the floors are clean because of pests and things like that. Like just having a kitchen does bring up the amount of work.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. But it's really awesome to have. I don't know if everybody's seen it, but it's cute little space.
Pretty straightforward.
Any
Any comments or concerns?
Very good. All good.
Or approval?
Yeah, even, okay.
It's pretty much the same as the first one, right?
So what are we looking for? It's the approval of the rates? Or would that go into?
Approval
to
of the
bylaw?
rates
Yeah.
or recommend to council to approve
Sure.
the.
We've done that, we can do that.
Yeah,
Because we'll have to then change the bylaw, put the rates in the bylaw and.
it's nice and easy.
So you're adding the.
You're adding the-
It's gonna take.
Pardon me?
Should I give you the roads?
Yeah.
This is just-
That the J and C recommend. How does it usually work? They recommend to council? Sorry, I'm not sure the wording of these.
That they approve this rate structure and policy.
You could just say that the committee supports the new rates and then that resolution goes to council. So when the bylaw comes forward with the new rates in it, they've already seen that it's gone.
Right.
already and they're happy with it.
Yeah. What's the new, so it's the new kitchen use policy and rates. It's not just rates.
You might have noticed this is where we got the $40 as the flat fee for the living room use as well. We figured we'd make them same hour price, flat fee.
Okay, first, anybody first? I'll.
Yes.
Yeah,
This one through. Jamie, I thought Jamie had her hand up.
all right, all in favor?
Jamie doesn't want to.
Just a moment.
All in favor, Jamie?
Everyone.
Excellent, nicely. Okay, we're on to 5.1, equipment donations, policy development update.
So I don't have much of an update on the donations and the policy development. It's a very challenging thing. And I do think we have to sort of tie it in with things like art donations and that sort of stuff. But I do have an update on the equipment tech committee that I'm part of with the Hearth and some folks from there. And things are going really well. A lot of the things have been purchased and have been received, and many of them have even been used. I think we got a lot of good use for I think the Marianne Chetta show. And I think we'll have some excellent, and also the we have some things still to come. The next major things are adding the sound baffles in the theater, which they are on the way. We're just currently working on the best way to install them. And then we have some lighting things which are also currently just on the way. So that would be the irises, adding irises to some of our moving lights in the theater. And all the stuff that comes along with that. I think that's about it. I mean, we do need to do some work on like donations policy and like how to deal with.
Like espresso machines that are trying to. donate.
Yes.
Or art or, you know,
There's
just.
a few things.
There's a few, and just, yeah, understanding exactly how we accept those and how we move forward.
In French, it's like a truc et les bizarre. Very clear. Truc are things, bizarre is junk.
Any updates on the railings?
We don't accept junk, but we accept it.
So the railings are still in process. They are being manufactured in the UK. So there has been a bit of a slowdown. My last update from the installer was he said he would know more in February. Whether or not that means they're available and ready to be installed in February, I don't know. Gotcha.
Even UK, wow, okay.
Yeah, the whole system is. Yeah. All right. Back on track.
5.2, programming and rentals update?
This doesn't have to be very long. This is just a little document that I put together just based on I put up on the screen, sorry. Just kind of like an overview of the 2025 facility usage and rentals. It was nice to be able to kind of gather all the numbers and stats from the years since we opened in May or April. And just, put some cool graphs together. I know I've given kind of different updates every time based on facility usage. So I kind of want to put some more things together that you could look at and really understand what these numbers mean. So just like this one, the first one, facility usage by room and percentage of days booked. This is just to show how busy these rooms are based on the amount of days they're booked and then comparison between how many of those are rentals versus rec usage. The two pie charts are net revenue by room and then rental user groups. it's pretty clear that the theater is the biggest revenue generator for rentals, and then local community members are the largest rental users. The next page, there's just a little overview on fitness center usage. This space is super busy. We've had like 15 people in there at a time on numerous occasions. We've had over 3,000 people use the gym since we opened in 2025. Yeah, we've had like increasing number of memberships, and you can see our little dotted, what's it called? The line. There's a word for
Trend
it.
line.
Yeah, it's the line showing that steady increase. This number below for recreation programs, the community center, we basically calculated based on how many people dropped into programs, how many people registered for weekly programs, how many unique visits. This is like there have been to the community center for rec programs. We figured that it's over 11,000 people who are coming in for individual drop-ins to programs and classes and events and things like that, which is pretty cool. We wanted to point out just this unprogrammed social use of the community center spaces that's not quantifiable, but like huge qualitative value in this. The living room is used every day for meetings, used as a workplace, used for tutoring, homework, after school get-togethers, connections, hobbies, chats, social initiatives, all sorts of things. The community center, as we've seen, as trees have come down and power's been out and there's been storms, it's used as a support space during these events. Provides warmth, washrooms, workspaces when homes lack that kind of power, water, safe access. Showers are used daily by both program participants and the public. And community members and visitors that are coming to the island are using the facility just as like an information source, to gather info about programs, events, rentals, the island in general, how to get to Killarney Lake, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes people do just pop in to chat. And then just this last page is, this is something that somebody mentioned at some point they would like to see for stats on facility usage, but it's theater usage, the comparison on how busy it is weekdays versus weekends, day of the week, month. It's obviously like, it's a bit off, like for May, June is when we first opened. I think we like expected those to be lower, and summers are a bit less busy than the fall. But yeah, these are just some interesting numbers and so that you guys might like to see.
Thank you very much. I have just one question for Kristen. Like, given the revenue that it's generated to date, is it like comparative to what you were projecting or?
For the facility?
Just, yeah, overall for this facility, is it significantly lower than what you were anticipating, and by
it
how
is.
much?
Well, I mean, and the other side of that is I think that we were too ambitious for year one. Year one, we had an estimate of 60,000. I mean, in the initial business case for the whole facility, they were projecting 100,000. So we thought that we were being much more conservative by projecting 60,000. And we have, I just looked it up, we were at 16,500 for 2025.
Right,
So we have to be more conservative going forward. So
right.
yeah, when we're thinking of that amount, what we were talking about of potential of waiving $2,500 in revenues, that's looking at about 10% of the budget that we put in for next year. So
And I think that the interesting thing from what I'm seeing in the rate structure that we set, the fee structure that we set, and then who the users are, they're, the purpose of it was for like local use and community use, and that is really, really significant. And then the rate structure was the revenue comes from things that are like either off island that are commercial, they're gonna pay those higher rates to use it, because you can see the amount that the facility is being used. And that's another sort of, is it an evolution of it, or is that a real thing when you're like a destination where people want to come and use that space for that kind of thing, you know, and then they book it like we get movies, but we have like, I think it's like Expedia would uses our space regularly. They pay the big commercial rate to come into the venue to do that. And I'm not seeing that we've had a lot of that kind of uptake yet.
Nice.
I think the reality as well is that if you're looking to host an event on Boat Island, you probably have, whether you're from the city or not, or like if you are from the city, you probably have some kind of connection with the island, at least at this point when it just opened. So we did have a couple rentals who were from the city, but they had family and friends and relatives and things on the island. And so they then hosted an event here with their, like, they came from off island and hosted, but they got somebody from Bowen to be their host for, like, they hosted it, they booked it, they did the whole process, but then it was an off island, like, organization or person or whatever coming to do the event on a local host. So that is kind of a way to get around this
Yeah.
surcharge for off islanders.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about when we were making it all up, you know.
Yeah, we might have been too aspirational
Right.
in the volume of higher revenue generating events, but some of that may also come because it takes time and
Yeah.
planning to, like, for weddings, for,
Yeah.
all these sorts of things that may be a higher revenue, maybe they just.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know, like, is there outreach and marketing for such, to the film industry or marketing?
You
in
don't
weddings or
need
no?
to do that, really. I mean, that
Just
reach
word
out,
of
I can
mouth.
tell you, with the film industry, they have location scouts that come and find you, like it's, we tried investing in that for a time and it was, we didn't get our money back. We didn't find a change. There
fair.
are free listings. There's a really good website for the Lower Mainland. I don't know, if this facility is listed on it, but it's a free website that offers where you put up the information about your space. So people who are looking for space can go to it. And it just gives them a little précis of like all your stats, like how big the space is, all the stuff on your website. And it basically, you fill it out and it's got a link to your website. I forget the name of it. I can try and find out, but it's a free service.
I wonder if Jamie knows, because I think this is the area where the Hearth was envisioning being able to support by.
Right.
So I don't know if Jamie knows that site.
I don't know, and it's mainly for the Lower Mainland. I don't know if they do something like Bowen
Right.
Island, but it basically does Vancouver, North Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, thanks. I just was curious about.
There is a little project that Kieran has proposed that we work on, or that Sarah works on, maybe with me, to make like some kind of promo video to draw renters to the facility. I do just want to point out, I do think there's a little bit of a staffing gap in terms of marketing the rental venue, as like we don't have a marketing or communications person in charge of the facility or in charge of rentals, like I do communications for rec, Sarah does communications for the muni, so it's kind of an overlap, but also a little bit of a gap. Like we don't have a sales, somebody's trying to get sales to the venue as a business almost. But yeah, so hopefully this video will be cool and get people to book some more events.
Yeah, it's the key to start is to look where weddings venues are promoted. It is one of those sites that does that before you spend a lot of time and energy. Like even getting the information once up in those places is actually how you draw some attention. Because that's what people do, is they literally go to those sites, see what's out there, do the rate comparison.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Okay, should we move on to 5.3? I mean, we don't have Sam here, do we?
She sent an
Oh, I
I
didn't
don't
get
think she sent
her.
them.
I think
Or Jamie, do you have an update from Sam?
what, from what I recall to seeing the email, just came in today and I just saw it really quickly, but I think she was saying it's something that's a work in progress and she'll implement the new kitchen use guidelines into the plan.
Well, let's move forward then. Other updates, 5.4, start with accessible parking.
So we, as you probably have noticed, and I think I brought this up last time, that we can't make just out of thin air accessible parking spots. It's not a thing. So what we did go with was priority parking spots. And we have been using them and had fairly good feedback on them. Some interesting observations about it though is that some of the people that we would have assumed would use those spots, leave those spots open and go other spaces,
Right,
which is
it's
really
priority.
well, it's surprising. But we do find that, particularly there's been a few community members who have noted the need for more parking closer for folks who need that with the accessibility challenges, and they have been very appreciative of what we have. So we generally leave 2 or 3 out to have just as we go through the week. Somebody has flipped them recently. I think that was just for because it just sort of depends on the event. And we do have more that we can add as an event renter, thinks they would be needed. So yeah, seems to be
Seems a good
Good.
solution. That was a good
yeah,
idea.
seems like a good solution so far. Seems like
Do we think
it
you
will be
need,
updated.
would it help with the loading and unloading site? Like a spot where people can come and unload somebody with mobility?
we have that already.
Yeah,
We have a
but-
drop off. Yeah,
Once enough?
I think so. I mean,
Empty.
Yeah.
yeah, it's often empty.
That's good.
It is used generally not by people dropping off people. It's usually mail or Amazon, but
Yeah,
it is pretty.
Yeah.
People are pretty respectful of it, I think.
very good. Well done.
Any other?
Well done, you guys. Well done. I've been waiting for it. I'm deeply impressed.
All right, moving on to new business. Any new business? Going once. All right, 7.1 action item review. See, I just touched on them there.
I don't have any.
You want me to find it? I'll find the action items.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Okay. So I'm going through the documents from last time. Action item, programming subcommittee.
Event center.
Events.
Event center. The listing.
I don't know the thing.
The programming subcommittee, there's no official subcommittee for programming, but it's an ongoing need that the Hearth and BIM that we need to work together with our planning, so we are in the planning process for the next upcoming months, so we've reached out and hoping to get together soon to talk about how we integrate the
Right.
components, so.
Right.
The next action plan was associated with or action item associated with the concession plan, so that's progress. Action plan Sienna called the Pemberton Community Center and a couple others did that about kitchen use. Oh, sorry, this was all about kitchen use, so. We need to make sure the kitchen use policy and concession plan are aligned, so that remains an action plan. Action item, sorry. Words here. Stop, okay. Action related to signs for the priority, so that's complete. The other action items associated with the discount or free events framework, so I think we can check those off as complete as well. And that was the review, so it's
Great, thank you. Sorry, Lee, did you have a hand up?
No, just scratch.
Okay, sorry.
Dramatic check.
All right. Yes, I'm looking at information items, there's really nothing. Question period, there's nobody here. Okay,
double check.
next meeting to be determined, unless anybody would say otherwise, I'd like to move to adjourn.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Not. Early
Bye,
even.
Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Oh, yeah.
Are we signed off?
Disappear.
Still says live.
So I'm sorry to have that Kim
Hold
Holland.
on, you're still live there.
Unbelievably expensive Italian.
You press it here.
Yes.
So classic example, we're still.
I know where I'm at.
That's just.
Okay, cool. All right, we're free.
Hi. Well, Jamie's still there.
I might miss something if I leave now.
You're our public.
I think
You're out at
it's not, I think it's
Zoom,
not live streaming, but we're still connected to the mute.
Come on YouTube and see.
Live streaming.
No, it still says, well, maybe.
Yeah, it says it's,
Oh, yeah, it says we're live still.
Yeah, perfect.
Are you watching us?
Yeah.
Try to be on your best behavior still.
Can we leave?
Yes.
You can stay in here, so we're.
She's really.
Really up with this. Thanks for there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody want any more snacks or? Thank you.
Yeah, we're still live. That's so fun. I'm gonna go second.
I just think it's, I don't have everyone.
The Zoom room, right? Like.
Yeah.
It's off. Like,
No,
it's-
it didn't Zoom or.
Okay, bye.
Jamie, thanks.
Yeah, I saw. I.
Is there anything happening after this?
No, but
No.
the world's most boring live stream.
The longest live
stream to the meet tomorrow or something.
Minimize everything, right?
Not sure the name of it, maybe, but I do, I just have a chance to go online. It's like when you're going to book a
I'm
wedding.
totally
or something,
familiar.
you
Yeah,
just go to
yeah.
this thing And then they have everybody kind of listen.
Yeah, I remember it, but I just can't recall the name.
I know, I can't.
Yeah, oh, maybe we'll find
When
it.
you search it, but.
Yeah, I'll look
It
online.
may not be free either, but it wasn't very much. We just did it once, and once you're in here, you don't have to update it unless you
Yeah.
changed it.
That's a really good
I
suggestion.
don't know if they do, but they, I guess Bowen might be considered like West
We have to see.
Vancouver.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just do this listing thing. I know you don't-
You can't get the Zoom just stop streaming.